matching columns. Still, if you want to get customer name from other table, that time this table, when you take this example, in this example customer have a age and age group have a age minimum and age maximum. If you want to get customer name and age range from age group table, that time customer table age you need to map with the age minimum and age maximum. This kind of joins you call as a theta joins. When you talk about your equal to and left right full outer join or with equal operator, this tables is not with the equi, this join is not with the equal operator. This is customer dot age greater than age group dot minimum and customer dot age less than age group dot age group maximum. So this kind of joins is called as a theta joins. Generally the short definition for theta join is other than equi join we call as the theta join. Okay. Now let's move to the shortcut join. When you go for shortcut join, for example, let me import other tables. I want to import other tables. If you want to import a tables, either right click, go to insert tables, or you can, here you have insert tables, you can click insert tables. Once you click insert tables, the tables you need to import from the server. If you want to import from the server, you need to connect with the server. I'm just trying to connect a server. Then you can comfortably, it will display the available databases with that connection. Yes, I can see that connection. There I have a tables. I just want to take a table called as the country region. I just selected the tables called as country region. I have a requirement. I have a requirement. I have a requirement in the report. I want a column country name from the country table, region name from region table, and I have imported these tables to satisfy the following requirement. I'll explain what requirement I have with these tables. Unfortunate or fortunate, I want a sales revenue. I don't have a sales revenue. For the time being, please feel I will create one one alias table and I'll treat that as a sales table. I don't have a sales table in the backend. If you have a sales table, please select the sales table, and you can click this sales table. Unfortunately, I don't have a sales table. I'm just making alias table for this particular reason. Name of the reason is I'm just taking sales table. Now you have a three tables. Now you have a three tables. ID, country name. Country ID is the primary key and have a country name for each country ID. And in the region table, region ID is the primary key and country ID is the foreign key. Country ID is the foreign key. When you see the fact table called as a sales, please treat this region as a sales. Please treat this as region as a sales. I just created the alias. I don't have a sales table in the backend. That's why for explaining the join, I created alias. Please treat me this region as a sales. And this region ID is a foreign key and this country ID is a foreign key. This is a sales revenue. This is a sales revenue. Now I have a two requirements with these three tables. Requirement number one, my customer is asking to display country, region, sales. Requirement number two, second report. They want only country, sales. Country, sales. These two requirements you are going to satisfy with these three tables. For satisfying first requirement, you need to go to country table dot country ID. You need to map with the country table country ID. You need to map with the region table country ID. Region table country ID. Yes, I just mapped country table dot country ID equals to region table dot country ID. Double click on join line, click on detect. It will give a cardinality between country and region. Now it's showing a cardinality between country and region is 1 to n, 1 to n. And as well as I want a sales revenue. This time you need to map a primary key of region called as a region ID with the foreign key of sales is called as a region ID. I just mapped with both the tables. Yes, these three will satisfy your first requirement. But when you see in the second requirement, I want only country sales, country sales. With the help of these two giants, still you can satisfy the first requirement. But unfortunately, you are taking data only from table 1 and table 3. For taking data from two tables, if you write three giants, utilizing three tables in the SQL query, the time it will decrease the performance. The reason, when you see here, when you drag and drop country name, reason name sales, that time it will write a SQL query like that. SQL query like country dot select country dot country name, comma reason dot reason name, comma sales dot sales, where country dot country ID equals to reason dot country ID and reason dot reason ID equals to sales dot reason ID. I told you, when you make one join between two tables, when you execute a SQL query will execute n into n number of matching conditions. But when you see here, you are trying to take a data from three tables, you have two giants, this time it will execute n into n matching conditions between country region as well as region to sales, it will execute again n into n matching conditions. That means total you are writing n into n, comma n into n. Total two times you are executing a matching conditions. But when you talk about second report, you need not a reason. That time if you go via country to region, region to sales, it will take, it will execute lot of matching conditions. It will decrease the performance. Instead of instead of instead of traveling country to region, region to sales, you can directly create a join between country to sales. You can directly create a join between country to sales. But I told you, fortunate or unfortunate, we have a referential integrity rules. If you want to create a join between two tables must have a common column, as well as one table must have a primary key, another table must have a foreign key, and third referential integrity rule says that if you have a three tables, the joins must be less than three. But here when you see, we have a three tables and three joins, that means indirectly you are not satisfying your referential integrity. This time when you execute a report, when you take a data only from country and sales, still it will write a three joins because the system will confuse. That time what you need to do is, still you need to improve the performance of second report, and as well as still you need to increase the performance of the second report, and as well as you need to satisfy the referential integrity. If you want to satisfy the referential integrity here, the joins must be less than 3. The reason is you have three tables. The joins must be less than that number of tables. So this is the case. What you need to do is just double click the join line, enable an option called as a shortcut join option. This time the join will be created with the dotted lines. This time what the system will understand, when you take data from country to region, region to sales, that time the system can see only three tables and two joins. This dotted line joins will be disabled. That time system can understand, oh, I have a three tables and less than three joins means two joins. I have a two joins. That will satisfy referential integrity, and it will give a data for the report 1. When you execute a report 2, that time what it will do, it will see only two tables and one join, and it will disable this path. That path means country to region, region to sales path will be disabled. Only it will enable between country to sales. That time that system can understand only two tables, one join, So that also will satisfy the referential integrity. The shortcut join is basically the main use of shortcut join is to improve the performance of the report, to improve the performance of second report. How it will improve performance? If you don't have a direct join line between country and sales, you just need to travel from country to region, region to sales. That means for taking data from two tables, you are taking longest path and we are executing two joins. That time it will take a lot of time to execute n into n and n into n matching conditions. Instead of going to that path, you can create a shortest path between country to sales. Shortest path between country to sales. This time, the second report will execute only one join. It will increase the performance. But anyway, the first report you need to execute two joins because the reason is you are taking data from three tables. That time there is no chance for us. But second report you have an alternative path. That's why you created a very shortest alternative path. That is a shortcut join. Shortcut join is basically to improve the performance of report. In the interview, there's a definite question. They'll definitely ask you what is shortcut join and why you need a shortcut join. That time you need to explain. A shortcut join is a join. It will create an alternative path between two tables by eliminating intermediate tables. Why I am telling you it's alternative path? Already you have a one path between country to region, region to sales. In that path you can take country sales, but that is the longest path. Instead of traveling with the longest path, you made a one more alternative path between country sales. For improving the performance, this alternative path is a very shortest path. There's a way it will improve the performance. Okay, that is your shortcut join. The simple definition for the shortcut join is a shortcut join is a join. It improves the performance by creating an alternative path between two tables. By eliminating intermediate table like here the region. That is your shortcut join. And next kind of join you call as a self-restricting join. Self-restricting join. For example, now anyway you made a shortcut join and you have a lot of joins. Now I have a one requirement. I have a country table. I have a region table. In my country, I have a India, have a states AP, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Kerala, and all states, 25 states. I have US, I have a lot of states, and I have a UK, I have a lot of states. But when you see here, country name is there in the country table, region name is there in the region table. But my customer is asking to display only India regions in the report. Only India regions in the report, not US, not UK regions. That time what you need to do is, you need to go to country table, right click on the country table and right click on the country table and then you just need to go to insert. This is a insert join. Then you need to take a table called as a country, or very simple way is right click on the country table. There you have an insert filter. You can put country name equals to, simply you can put country equals to US. Our case is you need India. Anyway, the data I have only for UK. Country equals to UK. Then when you click detect, then when you click OK, it will create a one filter on the country table with the country name called as a UK. Now when you execute a report with the select country name, region name from country table, region table, this time the report what it will do, While executing a join between country to region, it will take only India country from country table and it will match all the regions in the region table so that it will reduce a lot of matching conditions. If you are not creating a filter on the country table, that time the report will take country 1 from country table and it will map with all regions of the region table, and it will take second country, it will map with all the regions of region table, third country, it will map with all the regions of the region table. Later you can see all countries, they respect to regions in the report. Then you need to apply a filter in the report for UK. The reason is you want only UK data, the customer want only UK data. That time you are filtering in the report level that won't increase the performance. When you put a filter in the table level, then when you execute a report, while executing a join, what the system will do, it will hide other countries in the country table. It will take only India and it will map only with the regions there in the region table. That means if you have 100 countries, you have 1,000 regions. In the first case, you are not applying any filter in the country. If you are not applying any filter in the country, that time it will write 100 into 1,000 matching conditions. When you put a filter in the country equals to UK, that means you eliminated 99 records in the country table. That time the join will take only one country and it will execute with the 1,000 regions in the region table, so that it will write only 1 into 1,000 matching conditions. It will improve the performance. That means indirectly you reduce 99 into 1,000 matching conditions. 99 into 1,000 matching conditions. That will improve the performance. Self-restricting join is basically to improve the performance. If you have a clear requirement, if the customer is requested to display only one country data or some data, specific data for all reports, that time instead of applying filter in the report, please go to table and apply a filter in the table itself, where country.country name equals to India, where country.country name equals to US. That time the join will execute only with one country into n number of other tables, n number of records there in other tables. That means unnecessary country names you eliminated while executing a join itself, so that you are reducing a lot of matching conditions. It will improve the performance. That is what self-restricting join. Can you see the self-restricting join? The definition of the self-restricting join is that it is not at all a join. When you talk about join is always a matching condition between two tables. But here the join you are creating only on one table. That means you are creating a filter on only one table. That is a condition in the on same table that we call as a self-restricting join. Here you write only where country.country name equals to UK. That means here only one table is involved in this join. That is not at all a join. It's a condition on the same table that we call as a self-restricting join. Self-restricting join. The very next is complex join. Third type of join. In today's agenda, the third type of join is complex join. I told you, if there is any chance to create a shortcut join between country and sales, please create a shortcut join, so that if the report is pointing country table and only sales table, for that report it will improve the performance. When you talk about our second report we are taking only from country name and sales name. That report will improve performance because you have only one join. It will take only one join and it will execute. So that will improve the performance. And sometimes if you don't have a matching column between country and sales, that time you don't have a chance even to create a shortcut join, because you don't have a matching column. That time even you don't have an alternative path to create. That time what the system will do, it will take data from country, region, sales. That time you need to follow the complex path, that is country to region, region to sales. That time when you take only data from country, sales, still the SQL query write where conditions like country dot country ID equals to reason dot country ID, and reason dot reason ID equals to sales dot reason ID. Now for taking data from two tables, you are writing two joins with AND operator. That join you call as a complex join. If there is no alternative path between two tables, that time you need to go to other table, then other table. You need to take an intermediate table. That time it will write a complex join. For example, you don't have a direct path between country sales. That time there is no alternative path for us. You need to go to country to reason, reason to sales. That time it will write a complex join. That join you call as the complex join in VO. If there is no chance for shortcut join, that time you need to go for complex join. Complex join. That is your complex join. Nothing is there. The definition of complex join is a complex join is a join which is created more than two joins, more than one join, or more than two joins with AND or operator. That join you called as a complex join. Here if you don't have a shortcut join, that time you need to take country from country table, sales from sales table, but still you need to write a join where country dot country ID equals to reason dot country ID, and country dot and reason dot country ID equals to sales dot and reason dot reason ID equals to sales dot reason ID, and the two joins you combined with the AND operator. That we call as a complex join. Okay, I discussed about all the joins. Let me recap what we discussed. We discussed about 8 joins there in the BO, or the joins will be there in all databases. Number one called as a EQ join. If you want to take a matching data, you have imported the tables. For example, you have a requirement to create a report, country name, reason name in the report, but customer is asking to display only the matching country name and matching reason name. That means if the country is exists in the country table and it exists in the reason table, same countries exist in the reason table. If you want to display in the result set, that time you need to create an equijoin between country and reason. That is for getting matching results between two tables. That we call as an equijoin. And the next, left outer join. Left outer join means sometimes customer will ask us to display all records from country and only matching records from reason. That means if that country is exist in the reason, if they requested to, if the countries exist in the reason to display in the reason, and as well as null values from reason, that time we need to go for left outer. Right outer, all results from right side, only matching results from left side and null values from left side, that time we need to go for right outer. Full outer, sometimes they will ask us to display all from left, all from right, matching results from, null values from left, null values from right, that time we need to go for full outer join. Theta join, sometimes they will ask us to compare, one value with the two values there in the next table. That means customer is one value, you are comparing with the minimum age and maximum age, minimum value and maximum value. That time you go for theta join, that is other than equality, theta join. And next we talked about shortcut join. Shortcut join is basically to improve the performance. How it will improve performance, in the universe structure, whenever you find 3 tables and if you have 2 requirements, and requirement 1, if you want to take data from table A, table B, table C, that time you need to create a join between A, B, C, so that will satisfy first requirement. For the requirement 2, if you want to take data only from A and C, that time please make a join between A and C and double click the join line, enable shortcut path, enable shortcut option. That time when you execute second report, it will follow only the A to C path but not A to B, B to C. It won't take complex path, it will take a shortest path between A to C. It will improve the performance. That is your shortcut join. And number 7 is called as a self-restricting join. The use of self-restricting join is sometimes when you see one table have a lot of countries data and second table have a lot of transactions. If customer is requested to display only one country transactions. The time what you need to do is, instead of executing a join without condition in the country table, you just need to make a join in the country table where country dot country name equals to that country name. That time the system will take only one country from country table, and it will compare all the countries there in the transaction table, so that it will take only one country data but not all country data. If you are not applying a filter, that time what it will do, it will take all countries from country table and compare with all countries there in the reason table. That time it will write n into n matching conditions. But when you put a filter in the country table, that time it will write only 1 into n matching conditions. You are indirectly reducing. If you have 100 countries, 1000 reasons, in the first case without filter, it will write 100 into 1000 matching conditions. In the second case, it will write only 1 into 1000 matching conditions. Means you are reduced 99 into 1000 matching conditions. That will improve the performance. That is your self-restricting join. You have a 3 tables. Last join is complex join. You have a 3 tables and you created join between A, B, C for satisfying one requirement. But for the second requirement, you need data only from A, C. Still, you don't have a matching column. That time, you don't have a matching column between A and C. That time, still you cannot create a shortcut join. That time, you need to go to A to B, B to C. That time, the join it will write like A dot column equals to B dot column and B dot column equals to C dot column. That we call as a complex join. There is no shortest path. The reason is you don't have matching columns. If you have a matching columns, you go for shortcut. If you don't have matching columns, that time there is no alternative for us. You need to take a complex. The complex join always make with the 2 joins with and or operators. That is your joins. Now let's go and discuss with the loops. Yes, till now we discussed about defining parameters. In the defining parameters, we talked about how to create a project and how to make a connection and how to publish a local connection as a secure connection. And later we talked about how to define how to create a data foundation and how to import the tables into data foundation and how to make a joins between the tables. Now the next concept is loops. I just want to explain a loop. I want to take other tables. For the example, I want to present example. Let me take other tables. The definition of the loop says that the definition of the loop is a loop is a continuous path between tables. Let me explain a loop, when and where you will get a loop, and how to resolve a loop. See, I just want to take one example. I want to explain that loop. When you see a retail business, for example, when you take your Big Bazaar or Reliance or Walmart or your More or Heritage, you know how they will do business. They have a lot of showrooms in the world, and they will dump all the goods into the showroom, and people will come and buy your goods from the showrooms. And based on their swiping, once they selected their goods, once they went to the showroom, once they went to the billing counter, then they will do swiping. Then data will be inserted in the backend tables called as a OLTP tables. Later the ETL team will take the data and they will load into the target tables called as the data warehouse. Target tables called as the data warehouse. That is what happening in the real time. Later, as a report developer, you need to make a universe on top of the data warehouse, and you need to make an universe, and you need to create a reports on top of that data warehouse. Now, let me take one typical scenario in retail domain. When you see in the retail domain, most of the projects when you see have a reports like they will ask us to display country name, region name, customer name, their respective sales. For example, when you talk about Ambani will ask us every day how my business is doing in each country and their respective region, and how many customers are there in that particular region, and what kind of sales they are doing every day. That kind of analysis they will ask us. And sometimes they will ask us to display country name, showroom name, sales. Only country and how the showroom is doing in each country and the respective sales. When you see this table, I have a country name. When you see this data warehouse architecture, in my data warehouse, I have this tables. I have a country table, a region table, client table, sales table, showroom table. Now my customer is asking, in my project, I have two requirements. Requirement number one is my customer is asking to display report like this: country, region, client means customer, client, sales. This is one report. And the second report they are asking me to present country wise, showroom wise, sales. Showroom wise sales. Now you have two requirements and you have five tables. In the structure you have five tables. As per the first requirement, you need a country name, comma region name, comma client name, comma sales. Country name is there in country table, region name is there in region table, customer name is there in the client table, sales is there in the sales table. For satisfying this requirement, you need to make joins between country to region. I hope you know. In the country table you have a country, in the country table you have a country ID, and region table you have a country ID. In each country you have a n number of regions. For example, when you take India have a 4 regions: north, south, east, west. But when you talk about north region, you have only one country, that is India. That means the relationship between country and region is, if you take one country, it will take n regions from the region table. But when you take one region from the region table, it will take only one country. If you take second region, still it will get same country. That's why for n regions you have one country. For one country you have n regions. So the relationship between country and region is 1 to n. And when you see region and sales, region and client, in one region, the Reliance have a lot of clients. One region, the Reliance have a lot of clients, and one customer can buy a lot of goods from Reliance. So they can do a lot of sales. So that means the relationship between country and region is 1 to n, and region and client is 1 to n, and client and sales also 1 to n, because one customer n sales, n number of goods. So these three joins, that means country to region, region to client, client to sales, will satisfy your first requirement. That is fine. You create a join country to region, region to client, client to sales. That will satisfy your first requirement. And I have one more requirement. My customer is asking to take data and to display only country wise, showroom wise sales. They don't want a customer by sales because it's fetching a lot of data. They want one more report, country to showroom, showroom to sales. That time you need to create one more joins between country to showroom as well as showroom to sales. Now you have a joins like this. For satisfying two requirements, you created joins like this. Country to showroom, you created joins like this. Country to reason, reason to client, client to sales for satisfying first requirement, and second requirement is country to showroom, showroom to sales. Now, fortunate or unfortunate, it created, it created the loop. The reason is when you see here, you have a 5 tables and you created 3 joins for the first requirement and 2 joins for the second requirement. Total you have a 5 joins. Now the number of tables and number of joins you have same. This time it will form a continuous path. This we call as a loop. A loop is a continuous path between tables. A loop is a continuous path between tables. The definition of the loop is a continuous path between tables. When you form a continuous path between two tables, it won't satisfy the referential integrity. But here I'm not there to I'm not working for creating a loop. I'm creating a joins for satisfying my requirement, but I'm trying to execute my requirement. While executing my requirement, it created the loop. But still, as per the requirement, still you need to satisfy the referential integrity as well as you need to satisfy the requirement. You need to satisfy requirement as well as you need to satisfy the referential integrity. Both. When you remove one join between showroom and sales, that time you can see only 5 tables and 4 joins. You can satisfy your requirement. But when you remove one join between showroom sales, that time you cannot satisfy the second requirement, but you can satisfy the referential integrity. If you remove a join between showroom and sales, that time you cannot create a second report, right? Country to showroom, showroom to sales. But still, my requirement is I want all the joins and I want a satisfy referential integrity. If this case happen, for removing, if this case happen, if resolving this loop in BO, you have a technique called as a alias technique. Alias technique. ALIAS, alias technique. In BO, for resolving loops, we have a 3 techniques. Technique number 1 is called as a shortcut join. If you have a 3 tables and if you have created 3 joins, that time it will form a loop. I explained one example today, that is country to reason to sales for satisfying one report and improving performance of the second report. We make one more join between country to sales, that time it will form a continuous path between 3 tables that we have resolved by using shortcut join. When you enable a shortcut join, third join as a shortcut join, that time the system can see at a time 3 tables, 2 joins per first report, and second report it can be 2 tables, 1 join. So that will satisfy the referential integrity. That means if there is a loop between 3 tables with the 3 joins, that time you go for shortcut join. That will satisfy your first that can be resolve the loop. And second type of technique is if you have a more than 3 tables and one fact in the loop, that time you need to go for alias. And third type of technique is if you have a more than 3 tables and more than one fact table, that time you need to three tables, and we have one table. Then we have a second table. Then we have a third table. Then we have a fourth table. Then we have a fifth table. Then we have a sixth table. Then we have a seventh table. Then we have a eighth table. Then we have a ninth table. Then we have a 10th table. Then we have a 11th table. Then we have a 12th table. Then we have a 13th table. Then we have a equal number of joins with the equal number of tables. That time we go for the loop. For resolving the loops in BO, we have a three techniques. Number one is shortcut join. Number two is alias. Number three is context. Shortcut join. When we have a loop with the three tables, that time we go for shortcut join. If you have more than three tables and one fact table, that time you go for alias. If you have a more than three tables and more than one context, that time you go for more than three tables and more than one fact table, that time you go for context. Now we'll see this how to resolve this. Now we have a more than three tables and one fact table. You don't have multiple fact tables, you have only one fact is a sales. This we'll see how to resolve this kind of loops. If you want to resolve, let me take alias. For resolving this loop, you need alias. Alias. I'll explain first what is alias, and then I'll show you how to resolve this loop. You know, when you see this case, we have a joins between these five tables with the five joins. If we want to satisfy the referential integrity, you need to reduce one join or you need to increase one table. We have five tables, five joins. Either you can remove one join and see five tables and four joins. So that time it will satisfy referential integrity. Or second method is you need to increase one table. So that time when you increase one table, that time you have a six tables and five joins. That also will satisfy the referential integrity. Six tables, five joins. That also satisfy the referential integrity. But in the first method, when you decrease one join, that time you cannot satisfy the requirement for second report. So next alternative is you need to improve one table. You need to include one more table into the loop so that time you have a six tables, five joins. It will satisfy referential integrity as well as it will satisfy your both the requirements. Yes, you decided to create alias for resolving this loop. That means you decided to include one more table into the loop, and that time you have a more number of tables and less number of joins. So but the next question is where you need to include that table. Very next question is where you need to include that table. That is the case. What you need to do is in BO they gave a suggestions for us to include alias table. When you see the same structure I'm displaying into this graphics, when you see here you have a country, region, client, sales. Country to region you have a join, region to client you have a join, client to sales you have a join. This will satisfy your first requirement. Country to showroom you have a join, showroom to sales you have a join. This will satisfy your second requirement. And when you see the cardinality between these tables, country to region you have a 1 to n, and region to client you have a 1 to n, client to sales you have a 1 to n. And when you talk about country to showroom, one country you have a n number of showrooms, and in one showroom you can do multiple sales. That's why 1 to n. It form a loop. For resolving this loop, either you need to decrease the joins or either you need to increase the number of tables. When you decrease one join, that time you cannot satisfy the requirement. So decreasing join is not possible because you are not able to satisfy the requirement. That time the second alternative is you need to increase the table. If you want to increase a table, you need to decide for which table you need to create alias. Now before creating alias, I just want to explain what is alias. An alias is a exact duplicate of the original table. You can create a duplicate table for country. When you create a duplicate table for country, it will create a same table with the same number of columns and with the same data that we call as alias. Alias is exact duplicate. It's a duplicate table, like synonym in the database. Synonym is a exact duplicate of the original, right? That is alias. Okay, I'll tell you why you are creating alias and how you create alias. Don't worry about that. Now please remember, please keep in your mind, alias is exact duplicate of the original table. It contains same number of columns and same data. Okay, now you just confused. You decided to create alias means you are trying to add a new table into this loop, so that the time you can see more number of tables and less number of joins. So but where you need to create alias, that time you need to check a cardinality of the table which have both the ends 1 comma 1 cardinality. For that table you need to create alias. When you see these tables, country have both the ends 1 comma 1, reason have one and one, another and n, client have one and one, another and n, and sales have both the ends n n, showroom have a one n. Then the compatible table for creating alias is the table which have both the ends 1 1. Here the table is country have both the ends 1 1. You need to create alias table for country. Now I named that alias name is country underscore showroom. That alias I created on country table. When you see country underscore showroom table, which contains same columns like your country and data whatever you have in the country, that will be duplicated in the alias table. This time the second report you can take from alias country alias table, showroom and sales table. This time this query will fetch same data, and country to reason to client sales query also will fetch same data, because this country have a same data and alias also have a same data. Now when you see you have a 6 tables and 5 joins, so your number of joins is less than number of tables, and as well as you can execute query 1 in country to reason to client to sales, and query 2 you can execute with the country alias showroom and sales. Yes, this is the way you can resolve the loop. Now let me explain with the universe how to resolve this practically. I have a requirement to create a reports for article label. That article label is there in article lookup, so I am importing article lookup, and I have a requirement. To take color code that is there in the article color lookup. As well as I have a requirement to take criteria. That criteria is there in the article lookup criteria, and I have a requirement to take quantity sold and amount sold, that is there in the soft fact. So I imported all these 4 tables. When you see these 4 tables, you have a article lookup, article color lookup, article lookup criteria, and you have a soft fact. My customer is asking to create 2 reports. One report, they want a label, color code, criteria, and amount sold, quantity sold. Label is there in the article lookup, color code is there in the color lookup, criteria is there in the criteria, and amount sold, quantity sold is there in the soft fact. This time, for satisfying that requirement, what you need to do is you need to create a joins between article lookup and article color lookup, I'm just creating a join between this and this. Then click on detect. It will set cardinality. When you talk about mobile showroom, in the iPhone showroom, when you go to iPhone, in the iPhone, we have a iPhone. Table for iPhone is 4G, and in the 4G, we have a multiple colors. You can take red or green or blue or white. Color lookup is 1 to n, because when you select one article model, you'll get n number of colors. So that is the reason the join between this and this is 1 to n. Yes, you selected iPhone 4G and color white. Again, in the iPhone 4G, color white, you have a three criteria. You can take 8 GB RAM or 16 GB RAM or 32 GB RAM. That time, for each color, again, you have a multiple criteria. Multiple criteria. That means you selected, you selected here, uh, you selected one label. That time you have n color codes. Again, you selected one color code from n color codes. Again, you have n criteria. Means 8 color, you have a 3 alternatives. You can take 8 GB or 16 GB, 32 GB. That is fine. That's why 1 to n, one color, n criteria. And there is a chance to sell n number of that products every day. That means one label, one color code, n criteria means one criteria you selected, that will sell multiple products every day. That means there is a chance to sell one iPhone 4G, white color, 8 GB RAM, n products will be today done sale in the particular showroom. This will satisfy your first requirement. And I have a second requirement. My customer is asking to display only article label and amount sold, quantity sold. That time you need to create a direct join between article label and the showroom dot softfact dot article label, article ID. So article lookup dot article ID with the softfact dot article ID. Softfact dot article ID. That is, that time you can simply satisfy with the label with the amount sold, quantity sold from article lookup softfact. Fortunate or unfortunate, for satisfying my requirement, I imported 4 tables here and I created 4 joins. This time we have a same number of a loop. It will form a loop. When you see this loop, yes, I have first requirement label, color code, criteria, and amount sold, quantity sold. These 3 joins will satisfy your first requirement. And second requirement, you need only label and amount sold, quantity sold. That's why you created the join between article lookup and the softfact, a direct join. This join will satisfy your second requirement. When you see here, you have a 4 tables and 4 joins. When you have a same number of tables and same number of joins, it will form a loop. Loop is just nothing but you are not satisfying referential integrity. Now, as per our requirement, still you need to satisfy the requirement and you need to satisfy the referential integrity. This is the case. What you need to do is, you need to check the number of tables. Yes, I counted the number of tables. I have more than 3. And you need to see the number of facts. You have a 1 fact, that is a soft fact. That means you have a more than 3 1 fact. The loop is created with more than 3 1 fact. For resolving this loop, in BO we have a technique called as Alias technique, but still I'm not good with this. I'm not good with this. Still I'm not good with this. Still I want to resolve a loop. Still I want to resolve a loop. Still you want to resolve a loop. That time, what you need to do is, what you need to do is, you just need to click on text. Just click on alias and context. Here you can click, check the visualization of loop. when you click here, you just need to click on alias or context, or here you have a detect context, here you have insert context, or here you have a detect alias. When you click on insert alias, what it will do, in earlier version you have a simplest method to resolve the loop. You just need to click on auto detect loop. It will detect the loop and it will suggest us to go for alias. But in the current version, you don't have that automate method. Either you can click your visualizing loop, or loop can be solved by, see, it will give a loop can be solved by aliases. The loop can be solved by aliases. It says the loop can be solved by aliases, but still here you don't have a that good method to resolve the loop. What you need to do is manually, don't worry about automated method. First you need to check how many tables you have in the loop. We have a more than 3. And how many fact tables you have in the loop? Only 1. Yes, this can be resolved by using alias. Then very next step, where you need to create alias. Where you need to create a alias. Where you need to create an alias. That time what you need to do is, you need to check the cardinality of each table and see the table which have both the ends 1, 1 cardinality. 1, 1 cardinality. When you see these tables, article lookup joined with the showroom with the 1 to n. Article lookup joined with the article color lookup 1 to n. That's why article lookup this end 1 and this end 1. And article color lookup, this side it joined with the n, this side it joined with the 1. So that means one side it have an n, other side it have a 1. When you see article color lookup, one side you have a n, other side you have a 1. When you talk about soft fact, both the sides you have a n. You have only one table which have both the ends 1, 1. The table is your article lookup. The table is your article lookup. Still, if you want to go for detect alias, you can go for detect alias. It will suggest you the alias table for article lookup. And you see, it created article lookup. How it will suggest, the system will count, system will check which table have both the ends 1, 1. Based on that, it will suggest us to go for alias. It will identify there is a table which have both the ends 1, 1 is called as article lookup. That's why when you click detect, it's suggesting us to go for that particular, create alias for that particular table. When you click detect alias, and when you select this, simply it will create alias table. Yes, when you import alias table, simply what it will do, it will remove the join between original table and the soft fact. See, when you see, in earlier you have a join between article lookup and the showroom. Now it simply removed the join between article lookup and the showroom. It created the join between your alias table article lookup. Sorry, alias table and the soft fact. See, in earlier you have a join between article lookup and the soft fact, but now when you detect alias, it simply removed this join between article lookup and the soft fact. It created the join between alias table and the soft fact. This is a way it will resolve the loop. If you want to make an alias manually, that time what you need to do is, if you don't want to go for it, if you want to create manually, that time, in earlier you have a join like this and this, double click on this join line, click on detect. This is your loop. If you want to make manually, what you need to do is select this article lookup, go to insert, there you have alias, and name the alias. You just need to give meaningful name. Now whenever you are trying to create alias table, always you need to give alias table name like this. First table name, underscore soft. Click on OK. It will create alias table. And very next step, what you need to do is users need to remove a join between alias article lookup on the soft fact. Just select the join line, click on delete, it will remove the join line. Then you need to create a one more join line between your between your uh, between your alias table and the soft fact. You just need to create a one more join between alias table and the soft fact. See, I am creating a join between soft fact and the alias table, and double click on join line, click on detect. It will give a same cardinality. This will satisfy your two requirements, and as well as this will satisfy your referential integrity also. Now when you see you have a 5 tables and you have a 4 joins, and you can satisfy first requirement with the article lookup original table, article color lookup, and article lookup criteria, and the soft